Good evening and welcome to the Online Warriors podcast. Happy 2021. We made it, guys. We did it. We have crossed over. Happy New Year to my co-hosts, Nerdbomber and Techtic. I am Illeagle 86, of course, and we welcome all of our listeners to a new year full of fresh possibility. How you guys doing?
Doing great, really looking forward to 2021 and ringing in the new year. Had a nice little break and I'm ready to go, man.
Samesies.
No podcast break. I mean, we cruised right through. I'm proud of us. Let's take a minute. I mean, no rest for the wicked. We didn't take a single... Guys, we're working tirelessly to bring you Online Warriors content. And by working tirelessly, I mean recording and producing one episode a week. So thanks for listening if you are here. If you're a new listener here in 2021, we welcome you. There's a lot of old content you can catch up on if you enjoy this. And if you're a tried and true listener, it's great to have you back. We have some great news topics today to bring us into 2021. We're going to be talking about Quibi, which is a very 2020 topic, but we're going to be digging that one up because there's some business-related news on that front. We're going to be talking about Star Wars: The High Republic, which I think we talked about last summer very briefly, but we just got a trailer for that kind of digs a little bit more into what it's going to be. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then, of course, we also need to talk about this Microsoft news in relation to Windows, which I'm not a Windows guy, but hey, I'm gonna slog my way through that. But first, let's talk about Quibi. So we found out about 2 minutes ago, right when we were about to start recording. Unless he was joking, Techtic does not know what Quibi is. Not to out you, Techtic, but is this true? You don't know what Quibi is, or I guess what Quibi was?
It sounds more like an animal. I said, what's a Quibi? What are these kids these days playing with?
What is a Quibi? Well, I'll tell you what a Quibi is before we get into the actual news.
Or a Quibi was, because now it's an extinct animal.
Right. So
Quibi, my hunch was right.
If you want to see it that way, sure. What Quibi was it was designed to be this mobile streaming platform where content was produced that was designed to be short, I think the term used was like short movies or like short episodes of TV, things that are 5 to 10 minutes long that you can watch on your phone when you're like on the bus or something. There was a decent amount of star power behind this. I mean, Sophie Turner, Zac Efron, to name a couple. I have a list here in front of me. Anna Kendrick, Chance the Rapper, Kevin Hart, Liam Hemsworth, many more people were involved in the shooting of Quibi originals, which were, again, these videos that were designed to be streamed on mobile. If I remember correctly, if you turned your phone sideways, you could view the show in horizontal mode, and it would show you more than if you viewed the show in vertical mode, if that makes sense, on your phone. So it was designed explicitly to be mobile content. It was designed to be these short, bite-sized things. And before we get to the news, I want to say, I didn't get the app. I didn't try any. I think you needed to pay for Quibi, and that was probably the reason. I didn't get into Quibi, but I think it's a pretty good idea. It might be an unpopular opinion, but I can think of many times when to use the example I used before, I've been on the bus, and granted, this was pre-COVID times, of course, but on the bus with headphones in, listening to music very absent-mindedly, but I probably could have gotten something out of sitting there and on the 10-minute drive watching some 10-minute content, either a one-off, little 10-minute quote-unquote movie or an episode of something with, Kevin Hart in it for good measure. I can see the appeal of that. And this died in April of 2020. I don't know if it died because of COVID and because of everything that was happening in 2020, but I think this is a better idea than it's been given credit for. And before we get to the news, Nerdbomber, your response.
I was always just a little skeptical. I don't think you're wrong. I honestly think that people do gravitate towards needing content when they're commuting or when they have downtime, and especially short bites. My only skepticism around this concept when it first came out was that YouTube exists and there's so much content on YouTube that you can get for free that I was worried that their price tag was a little high considering what you were getting, because I think it was around the price that you could get Hulu with ads for, and you get more content with Hulu than you would out of Quibi. But I do think that it was a semi-decent idea. It was just the timing was so bad because I think it released right before the pandemic hit. And then when we're all stuck at home, I can just pad out into the living room with my computer if I really want to watch something on lunch or something, you know what I mean?
And now we're here for the long haul, not the commuter videos.
I think if this would have come out maybe either in 2018 or 2019 or heck in a couple years, I think it probably would have been a little bit more successful.
Yeah, you're right about YouTube, first of all. I think what Quibi would have needed to be would be something that's somehow easier to use and easier to pull up on your phone than YouTube is. I mean, YouTube is just hitting a button and you're going already. So I don't know, like, I think another
But you have to like
app
search for something to find on YouTube, whereas with Quibi it would be like Netflix, where it's like, watch this next. So I could see that appeal for sure.
Well, and I would say one of its other competitors, granted, kind of a totally different thing, but like I can imagine that especially in like 2019, 2020, people who were getting on the bus and needed to kill 10 minutes were going to TikTok. So like there might be some overlap there as well.
You know, I keep forgetting TikTok is in the landscape, and I know we even just talked about the TikTok musical last week, but I keep forgetting because I'm not a big TikTok user, but like it's a huge app. It's a big deal. People use it all the time.
Yeah, it continues to be a big deal. You know, we almost lost it to China, if I remember correctly. It's apparently still around, so, you know. But I think that's another competitor of Quibi's. I think on paper, I guess the point I'm trying to make is I get what they were trying to do. And I don't want to say it's a shame it didn't work. I don't think my life is any worse because it didn't work, as opposed to like MoviePass, where my life is worse because it didn't work, but it was also a stupid business plan.
R.I.P. MoviePass.
R.I.P. MoviePass.
Honestly, though, was it that stupid of a business plan? Because all of the different movie theaters prior to COVID, they all adopted it. I think it was stupid for being independent, but not a terrible business plan.
I mean, yeah, well, yeah. And again, this is clouded by the pandemic, but like I was doing Stubbs A-list until the pandemic hit, and like not going to movie theaters became I think I might have actually canceled it. So I canceled it right before football season started because I kept going to movies on Sundays, and then once football season started in 2019, I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to go to any more movies, so I'm going to cancel it. But that was a good middle ground. MoviePass was like $10 a month, and I saw at least 4 movies a month, so it was stupid. It didn't make sense monetarily for them, and that's why they folded. But Quibi, I don't know the price point. You said before, you know, it's like a month of it is like Hulu with ads, which, yeah, I don't know if that's as crazy or as good an economic proposition for the end user. But I get the point I'm trying to make, I guess, is that it seems like a good idea on paper. Enter Roku. The news, to finally get to the actual news of this, is Roku is nearing a deal to buy all the rights to all of Quibi's content. So Quibi, they obviously had to put out content when they put the app out. So there's still these shows that have Zac Efron, Sophie Turner. I don't know what they are, but that content is now kind of in limbo because apparently you can still open the Quibi app when you try to watch something. You no longer can because I guess when they went bankrupt or whatever, they decided to just, you know, kill all of the ability to stream their content, which makes sense. But that content is kind of waiting in the wings for someone to step up and buy the rights to it, and then it becomes their original content in a sense. So I have a Roku TV. I don't know do you guys have a Roku? I know you just got a new TV. Is it a Roku TV? Do you have a Roku? Is there any Roku involvement in your house? Let me start
We
there.
are full Roku. Like the TV that we got is a Roku TV, but we also have a Roku box for our other TV and a Roku stick that we because we have like, you know, when 32-inch TVs were all the rage back in like dorms and stuff. And so we have not a bunch, but we have a couple of them. So like we have one in like our gym-y type area. Not that we have a full-blown gym, but it's our garage.
A treadmill.
Yeah, we have a treadmill. So we mounted one there. But like we have a floating Roku stick that goes where we need it to go for our random 32-inch TVs that are just scattered.
So I'm about to make you and probably other people upset. We have one Roku TV in our house, but we don't. So I bought a new TV that was bigger than our old TV, and it just happened to be a Roku TV. I wasn't buying it because it was a Roku TV. We also had a Fire Stick that, you know, it's a 4K Fire Stick. It has all of our apps already on it, all of our login data, everything, all of our preferences already on it. So when I got the Roku TV, I plugged the Amazon Fire Stick into the Roku TV. So now whenever I turn the TV on, I first turn it on, and then on the Roku, I have to go over and to what they call the streaming box and say, let me use the Apple or the Amazon Fire Stick.
Why are you like this?
It's really stupid. I will fully own this. It's really dumb. But A, I like Fire Sticks. I have no problem with Fire Sticks. And B, like I said, convenience. Everything is already on the Fire Stick. Roku, I don't love the Roku interface. I'd have to like redo everything, which just seems like a pain.
Logging in is a pain in the butt. I'll give you that.
And there's certain apps they don't have, I'm pretty sure, relative to Amazon. I mean, I think they actually got HBO after Amazon did because of all that crap.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think what Roku wouldn't have at this point. Like don't get me wrong, like
Prime
I have
Video,
no problem
for
with
one.
Prime.
Prime
no,
Video.
but they have Prime
But they
Video.
have Quibi.
No, but we have
Well-
Prime Video. I watch Prime Video on my Roku all the time.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that I will admit I did not know.
I feel like your mind just went poof, poof.
Well, in any case, I don't have a horse in this race. I guess is the point I was trying to make. It sounds like you guys do, but
No, I don't
didn't-
at all. I'm just saying you can take that Fire Stick and liberate it to one of your other TVs now.
That is not what I thought you were going to say.
What?
You could take that Fire Stick, shove it.
Oh, no. Like I said, my parents use Fire TV. I really have no horse in the race at all. We just happen to gravitate towards one ecosystem.
I mean, I might take that Fire Stick and shove it into another TV.
Put
Won't
it
be
in
shoving
the
it
port.
anywhere else. Yeah, put it in the port.
Giggity.
But I don't know anything about the Roku channel. Apparently, there's a Roku app called the Roku channel that's where this Quibi content will be going. And I don't know if either of you have ever watched the Roku channel. I don't know what the Roku channel would have
It's
if
like-
not for this Quibi deal.
It's subpar free TV and movies, like a bunch of really old movies and not a lot of A-list. Like there are a few big movies from like the 80s and the 90s, but for the most part, there are a bunch of B movies that you're not super excited to watch, but they're free. So maybe you'll watch it if you're super hard up and you don't have any other subscription service. It's that type of thing.
I think the only thing we've ever done on the Roku, I think their live TV thing is easier to use than Amazon's, and we just found it one time. We're like, oh, like there's like a channel that just plays old seasons of Survivor on repeat, which was like, we were like, oh, okay, let's do this. And like and that's dumb because there's commercials, but like that's my exposure to Roku, and that's different than the Roku channel. But in any case, they're in play to get this Quibi content, and honestly, I hope they get it. I mean, what's worse? Roku getting it and me not caring, or this content never seeing the light of day because this app died because of COVID? I feel like it's pretty clear, but I also kind of just imported my bias directly into the story.
I feel like
I don't
someone
know.
is going to end up with it. I was surprised, honestly, to see Roku as the front runner. I thought for sure it would be one of the other dedicated streaming services and not so much Roku. Because, I mean, no one is in the Roku ecosystem for the Roku channel. You know what I mean? This isn't
Yeah.
going to be like a draw or anything. If you're either going to have Fire Stick or Roku.
But that's just it, right? They're trying to get in that game and really, I'm going to say it, diversify their portfolio.
Right. You gotta diversify. They have to get in the game somehow. I mean, to me, I'm realizing that I have an implicit bias against Roku. So to all the Roku fans out there, I'm sorry, but like when you consider like Amazon and Apple, who have their own streaming platforms and their own streaming hardware, and then like Google Chromecast is kind of like married to YouTube in a sense. Roku to me is like the redheaded stepchild, right? Where like they're like, yeah, we have streaming capability, but there's no like show up here and get other people's stuff because we don't have anything to give you when you actually get here. If that makes sense.
So the thing is, because they're the leader in these media devices, right? They're not a lot of people are competing with the Roku media players. Once they start to get a foothold in the content, they can start to strong arm these other apps in
Bigger
order
boys.
to get them to, or I guess, incentivize them to get onto their application, if that makes sense.
Right. So it kind of like tit for tat of like, we'll give you the Roku channel if you give us
Well, I mean,
Apple TV. I don't know.
you even
We'll support your app on our media device if you give us X amount of dollars, is what I was getting at.
Oh, okay.
It even goes further than that, and even like the hardware, because Roku has now, as you mentioned, they've expanded their reach into TVs and even soundbars at this point. And the TV manufacturers for Roku TV, like there's not a specific singular manufacturer. In fact, some of the TV brands, I think Hisense, TCL, I think they kind of flip-flop back and forth between having a Roku ecosystem or using the Fire ecosystem. And I think the more that they can
There's also
bring
Android,
to the table.
too.
Oh, that's right. Is that really prevalent? I thought Google Chromecast,
I don't know.
for whatever reason, I feel like that like faded away a little bit.
So I have a Hisense Roku, but I know Hisense also dabbles with Android. TCL, I'm pretty sure, is entirely Roku at this point.
Are
but
they?
maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't think I've ever seen a TCL TV that's not Roku. But yeah, Android I would say is fairly fringe. Yeah, in response to what you were saying.
So, I mean, I think maybe they're hoping too that might help them get more exclusivity deals so they don't have to worry from year to year whether, I mean, obviously they have TCL, it sounds like, in the bag, but Hisense, maybe they can try to like finagle their way into an exclusive contract. Because if you look at the cheap TV market, especially, I mean, when people are looking at cheap smart TVs, your really only options are Roku TVs and Fire TVs a little bit, and as you mentioned, Android TVs a little bit. But Roku TV is like the dominant one at the moment. And if they
Well,
can
in
like
fact-
carve out that space as the budget smart TV, man, they kind of have a good thing going there.
It's actually kind of funny because I recently look, my dad's big into TVs, and he's like kind of snooty about TVs. Hey, hi, Dad. Thanks for listening. You're snooty about TVs. He has an LG. He just got an LG TV that's like, it's one of those like picture frame ones.
Oh,
but,
like the QLED super fancy ones.
Oh yeah, like top of the line, like, and it's like it's on the wall, but like it's so thin that like I don't even know how it's a TV, and like you can put it in like fine art mode where it just shows pictures and like plays classical music. It's a whole thing. But at one point, I was trying to navigate through like the smart TV features for reasons I don't have to get into, and the interface was super unintuitive, and like it was crazy to me thinking about like Fire TV or Roku, which is Roku's built right into the TV. It's like how much better that is on the budget TVs than like LG is like, no, we're going to use our own interface that's like, to me, notably worse. And maybe I'm just wrong, but it felt very unintuitive. I just found that very interesting. But Roku is buying Quibi, or so it would appear. So they may be taking another step forward in the market. Sounds like Nerdbomber and Techtic are Roku enthusiasts, so bully for you guys, I guess.
I mean, hey, I'll take more content any day. I'm stuck at home. Give me more to watch.
Right. Well, and that's what I was saying before, is like better this than to have it mothballed. So we are all for it here at Online Warriors. In the interest of Twitter interaction, at Online Warriors 1, at OWLegal86, at OW Nerdbomber, at OW Techtic, what camp are you in as a listener? Are you a Fire Stick boy? Are you a Roku boy? And I should say, you could also be a Fire Stick girl or a Roku girl. But who you repping smart TV wise? Let us know on the Twitter sphere. And let us know if you're one of the like 3 Quibi users, because I'd be curious about that. I don't really know anything about it. I mean, it's dead, so you're not really a Quibi user anymore, but you get my point.
It's a quibber, is someone who uses Quibi. I think
Let us know if you're a quibber. That feels wrong to say, so I'm going to move on to Star Wars. So Star Wars: The High Republic. Now, there's this minute-long trailer that got posted today, and I have to be honest, I'm still not super clear on what this is. It's books and comic books and all kinds of print media conglomerating into this one universe, which, okay, like I'm on board generally. What gets me super on board is the time period.
Backstory City.
Yeah, Backstory City. I mean, I've always felt, I don't want to get on the soapbox, but I understand why the Star Wars universe wants to do things like Rogue One, where they insert themselves into tiny gaps in time between 2 existing Star Wars, episodes. Same thing with Mandalorian. Mandalorian's great. We've talked about how great it is. They've inserted themselves into a tiny gap of time when we know that there is, in theory, an infinite gap of time before Episode 1 began. In what I guess is being called the High Republic, when Jedi not only existed, but seemingly were plentiful and flourished as peacekeepers in the galaxy, and Coruscant was still this urban hub of all things urban, and the Sith were out there, but I guess not really a big deal, if that makes sense. It seems like a vibrant playground for creators to insert themselves into. And that Star Wars is just now getting to that, I think, is a sin, but I'm glad they're getting to it. So I don't know. I mean, I said my piece. I don't know. Techtic, you seem generally excited about this, but
I don't want to say that they're just now getting there. There's from the comic book sense, there's plenty of backstory in the lore of how certain Sith Lords came to be and kind of what path they took. But
have you ever heard the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No,
it's not one the Jedi would tell you.
But my point is, for it to be, and hopefully it's consumed in a way of the animated variety, because that was my favorite Star Wars content. Then I'm here for it. I have a hard time sitting still. And so while I enjoy comic books, I can't do the long haul, and the animated variety gives it to me in nice, fun, bite-sized pieces.
Right. So RE comic books, I guess. I don't know why or how or when I received it. It might have been as a gift, but I still have, when I was younger, I was super into Star Wars. As I'm still kind of into Star Wars, but I was like super into it when I was younger. And right around the time Episode 2 came out, I got this, you'd probably call it a graphic novel. I don't really know where the line is between those two things. Maybe Techtic, you could tell me, because I would assume you'd be the person to know. But it was essentially a novelization of Episode 2 in comic book form, and it was and is the coolest thing ever. I still have it. I still read it occasionally because it's I don't know. It's like watching the movie, but you're also reading.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely fantastic. But like I said, I just get antsy, so it's easier for me to have something on in the background while I'm doing other things.
Right. Speaking about comic books in the more general sense, I've never been able to get into that. And, I guess Star Wars might be the way for me to do that, but it is an interesting market move for them. I mean, Star Wars comics, I would assume, already have a market, but it seems like this is a push of like, we want the Star Wars comic book thing to be more of a thing than it is. And I'm very curious about that. I'm not sure what precipitated that move.
So now backtracking on my original statement, the main things, I mean, you guys have called me the comic book expert. My favorite thing to do with comic books, period, is researching backstories. I find it like I'm learning something new, and just learning in general just excites me. I'm a nerd in that fashion. So for the precipice of this being a loaded backstory for characters that have been around a while and that we know and love, and kind of to see where those timelines took us and how we got there, this excites me.
In terms of what excites me the most, if we want to take the conversation in that direction, I'm so curious, if you couldn't tell based on me saying the Sith, I guess, are not there, who's the enemy? Or is this, as a comic, and there are novels too, but I guess we're focusing a lot on the comics, is this more of an episodic thing where, kind of like The Mandalorian, every week there's something new going on and there's a different enemy, and it's not just this overarching, the Sith are bad and there's always a master and apprentice, blah, blah, blah.
I think it's a growing force. Think about the time period and think about the pivot of power, right? We had flourishing Jedis, and over time that number dwindled and dwindled, and it wasn't just this big bad enemy at once, right? It was this, take this person out, take that person out, and over time the balance shifted toward the dark side, and that's what we're going to see.
Let me, Nerdbomber, we're going to get to you. I know you're very quiet over there. Let me tell you first what I don't want. And I don't think this would happen, but something that irks me in the Star Wars universe, and even in like The Mandalorian and more recent properties, I don't want this to connect to the Skywalker saga in any way. I want it to be its own thing. I want more individual, independent, isolated stories. I want this to take place 1,000 years before the Skywalker saga. I don't want anything to do with, I don't want them to answer the question of how Shmi became pregnant with Anakin. I mean, I'm not sure, A, that's a question that needs to be answered, and B,
because he was the chosen one.
I don't want to answer that. He was the chosen one. That's supposed to be the mentality. But like, even if you want more of an explanation, I don't think it should come from what's supposed to be this big sweeping literary effort in another direction. But I guess with that line of questioning in mind, Nerdbomber, what would entice you or turn you off about this project as a whole? Not to put you on the spot, but...
Kind of the thing that turns me off about this project is the very embodiment of the project itself. I feel like... So,
okay.
We've talked a lot about the comics, but it is going to be, as I believe they've said, a steady stream of comics, magazines, adult novels, middle grade novels, young adult novels, kids' books. That's just a lot. Like,
are you concerned about inundation?
Concerned about inundation, and also concerned about the fact that all of these things are going to be kind of intertwined and cross-connected. And I know that probably like the adult novels, I should clarify, will probably follow like one story thread while the comics follow another. But I feel like this whole thing is intended where you don't really get the full picture unless you read everything. And man, who's got time for that? That's the thing that turns me off about this, because every month there's going to be new content, and we're already getting a slew of new Disney Plus Star Wars content and MCU content, and now there's going to be DC content, and my nerd capabilities and my nerd time just can't accommodate all of that stuff. Something's got to give.
You run the risk, too, of if you're putting out that much content, how much of it can be good. Maybe that's a logical fallacy, but like, I don't know. And the other question is, if you're an adult reader, do you really need to be reading middle grade novels to like pick up that connection I certainly would hope that they've considered the design challenge beyond that point so that you wouldn't have to do that. But it's a fair concern. I mean, I did read, this was I think right before episode 7 came out. I read a book called Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. I'm just going to say right now, this is a young adult novel. And yes, I am technically a young adult. I was too old to be reading this book. This came out in 2015. Well, I guess I only would have been 23. I'm like on the fringe of probably their audience. It was like if they took a Twilight book and made it exist in the Star Wars universe and forcefully tie into episode 7.
I mean, I don't hate that. I'll admit,
I didn't care for the experience.
I still read some young adult books, and I think there should be a whole new genre. And I know there's been like a movement that there should be like a whole new adult genre that's a little bit older than young adult. And like, I don't hate that, but not every reader is going to enjoy that. And so if they don't handle the cross connection well, and you are forced to read that and you don't like that, that's going to suck.
Well, and to be clear, the young adultness wasn't the thing about it that I didn't like. The thing I didn't like was it was clear that they probably went out and headhunted this Claudia Gray, who I don't know any of other work, and said, "We want you to write a Star Wars book that is basically like this other book that you wrote, but it has to tie at the end directly into the events of Force Awakens, because that's like what we're trying to do here as like a marketing thing." I didn't like that. And that's what I don't want them to do. I don't want them to say, okay, we're going to come out with a Star Wars Episode 0 movie in 5 years, and we want you to take us right to the precipice of that. I don't want that. And if you have this many novels and magazines and like you said, all these different things, it just raises the chance, the more of those things there are, it raises the chances that they're going to try and do something goofy like that. And that doesn't appeal to me. But in general, I still love the idea. I still love the potential direction it could go in. It just needs to be careful not to weigh itself down, like you were saying, with all the connections, potential connections and cross connections. And we have to think about Nerdbomber's nerd time, guys. I mean, it's a finite resource.
I know I can't do everything, people.
We all have finite nerd time. And I think Nerdbomber's nerd time she probably has more nerd time than a lot of other people. But she still doesn't have infinite amount. So Star Wars creators, High Republic people, you heard it here first. Maybe rein it in a bit, I guess is where we're gonna leave it. We are going to take a break now before we get into our third topic, which is Microsoft/Windows. But before we do both of those things, the break and the next topic, it's that time of the episode again. Ben Checkness, here's to you, my friend. Ben has been supporting us on Patreon for quite a while now at the night level, which is our highest of 3 levels. And as a result, he is one of our producers, and he gets a shout out on every episode. And this is that shout out. So thank you to Ben for supporting us for all these years and for all these episodes. Nice to have you listening again. I assume you're listening. Hopefully you are. If you want to be like Ben, you want to get this producer shout out. And if you also want to get weekly input into the game segment, monthly access to the secret segment and vlog, you can support us at the night level, which is the highest of the 3 levels on our Patreon support track. Second level is the Squire level, which gives you access to the monthly secret segment and vlog. And the third level is the page level, which gives you access to the monthly secret segment. So the details on that are over at patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. Go check it out. We'd love any support we can get. We thank Ben again for his support, and we will now take a short break to shout out a sponsor and be right back to talk about Microsoft.
All right, guys, it's that time of year. New Year's resolutions, always trying to eat and snack a little bit healthier this time of year. And today's episode is brought to you by Kind Bar. And Kind is deeply committed to crafting food with real, recognizable ingredients, a disruptive notion that sparked the creation of a new healthy snacking category. Kind is unapologetic in their efforts to challenge the status quo, to shift the food industry, and empower their community and our listeners to make better informed choices about health. Kindness can be a transformative force for good, and that's why we're teaming up with Kind and Podgo to bring our listeners 10% or 15% off for military, teachers, students, first responders, doctors, and nurses. Go to podgo.co/kind. That's podgo.co/KIND. Kind Bar, creating a kinder and healthier world, one act, one snack at a time.
All right, welcome back to the main episode where we are now talking about Microsoft. You know, that big company that makes everything computery. And Microsoft is apparently here to say Windows is back. I didn't know Windows was gone.
Yeah, I thought Windows is still very staunchly ingrained in like most people's computers.
Well, according to The Verge, Microsoft wants to say Windows is back, and they are doing so by planning, and I quote, a sweeping visual rejuvenation of Windows. So the story here, Microsoft posted a job listing recently for a software engineering role in the Windows Core User Experiences team, and I'm going to read the job listing. On this team, you'll work with our key platform, Surface, and OEM partners to orchestrate and deliver a sweeping visual rejuvenation of Windows experiences to signal to our customers that Windows is back and ensure that Windows is considered the best user OS experience for customers. So, worth noting, Microsoft has since quote-unquote quietly removed references to the sweeping visual rejuvenation, but we should talk about this. I mean, I haven't used Windows. I'm a Mac boy, so I haven't used Windows heavily in a long, long time. I know, like, for me, their big quote-unquote visual rejuvenation was when they did the whole tile thing. I don't think that lasted very long.
Then promptly got rid of it.
Yeah, that didn't last very long, and now they're back to kind of trying to keep some of that tiley stuff in the start menu, but otherwise it's just like same old Windows, right? So, we can talk about this in a number of ways. We can talk about, do we think that Windows is in need of a visual rejuvenation? And if we do, what would that look like, or what should that look like? I will start and say, from a biased perspective, that the reason I have used Mac for as long as I have and will continue to is I do not care for the Windows experience. So for that reason, I think they could use a visual rejuvenation. Do I know what it is or what it should be? I do not. But you guys are both, I think you're actually recording this podcast on a Windows computer, so you guys are the experts here as far as I'm concerned.
So as someone who came from a Mac to a Windows because I did not enjoy the Mac experience, I'm here to say that, honestly, I don't really care what it looks like. I just want it to work with everything. And guess what? It provides. So they could make the graphical interface incredibly smooth and swooshy and all the stuff they tried to do with Windows 8 but failed miserably. As long as it's friendly with all my other applications, you guys do you. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I will say, me personally, I mean, I've used Windows, Mac, and Linux, and in terms of the interface, I do find Windows to be easier to use. They used to be easiest to use before they actually did their whole Windows RT, Windows 8 snafu thing when they made all the tiles. And for a while, they got rid of the start menu, which was a baffling idea. Like, it existed, but it didn't. I don't really think they need an overhaul. It feels like they overhaul Windows, though, every few years, and every other iteration of Windows is a new learning experience. And I think the reason why you prefer Mac is because, for the most part, the Mac experience has stayed the same. You don't have to learn anything new. And I don't know.
That's one reason, yeah. There's many reasons I don't have to get into, but that's definitely one. You're right.
But, like, I don't know the last time you used Windows, but it was probably, because you are a Mac user, it was probably much different than the time before that you used Windows. And I think that's a problem. I think Windows needs to find a little bit more consistency. I think what they have with Windows 10 is actually pretty good. It's the perfect blend of the modern tile feel that they're looking for from an app standpoint, so it works on tablets and touchscreens. But it also gives you the functionality that you need for a desktop computer. And I think trying to change it drastically at this point, like, just leave it be for a little bit. Let there be another shift in technology that requires a change in the operating system. But until then, just stop. I think it looks fine. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I don't like change.
To me, it raises a question that you can take beyond Windows and beyond Microsoft and beyond Mac and anything, which is, how much can you really take a user experience? Like, the Mac user experience hasn't changed for years, and I don't expect it to change anytime soon. The Windows user experience has it has undergone some visual changes, but it, by and large, has stayed fairly stable for the past few years. The question for me becomes, have we peaked in terms of, like, does the kind of tile-ish format that Windows has, where, like you said, it's viable for touchscreens, but also still works on a PC. Like, is that where it's going to sit, or where it should sit, until some vast technological improvement, like, I don't know, hologram crap, like Minority Report stuff happens? Yeah, I wonder if a change at this point would be a change for change's sake. Moving from tiles to circles would be one example that I would immediately think of like, look at this, they're circles, they're new. It's like, well, but does this improve anything, or is it just visually different? I don't know if a change
Everyone knows triangles are the future.
Ugh. I think they're also, like, they're thinking about the individual home consumer a lot in this too. But I feel like every time they change their operating system, that's gotta screw with all of the businesses and corporations
Companies,
that use Windows as a basis. Because let's be real, not every single employee at every single company is going to be really tech savvy. And every time that you change something drastically, there's going to be a learning curve. Even if it's not major. Like, for example, when I hop from one computer, like I've got a laptop and I've got a Surface and we've got the desktop that we do the podcast on. And every time I hop on the computer, because I'm a weirdo and I don't like to sync my data across all of my devices, I just don't like it. But it's annoying when all of my shortcuts and stuff are in different places, and that's just my shortcuts. That's what I put there. Now you start moving around how people get to their applications and search functions and all that kind of stuff. People don't like that. People are not receptive to change.
When it's not just not liking it, it's a recipe for disaster, right? Like you said, how many companies, corporations, businesses rely on Windows, and
it adds time to every task if you have to relearn Windows.
Well, and UI experiences shifting may seem minor, but for all we know, in the inner workings of a business, it's major in some way. I can imagine those changes. Butterfly flaps its wings and it becomes a hurricane kind of thing. So it sounds like we're all kind of landing in a similar spot on this, which is no, just leave it the way it is. I don't know why a sweeping rejuvenation is needed, but it sounds like none of us really know what that would look like either. I said circles, but that was kind of a joke. That would be really dumb. I feel like if Microsoft was like, we're going with circles now, it wouldn't make any sense. What I picture, which granted is different than Windows, but like thinking about tablets especially, you have an iPad which has these square icons that you click, and then the application opens, you're in the application, and from there it's the application's job to do whatever it is that application's supposed to do. I'm not sure how it gets simpler than that, how it gets easier to use than that. And I'm pretty sure the Surface can be operated in a similar way. So I guess that's what I mean when I say that maybe we've peaked until we get like holograms, or like you wear the glove and you gesture around on your screen and things happen. Like until we get to that on a more mainstream basis, why change any of this? Unless you are putting on a cleaner finish to make it look more modern or silver or something. You know what I mean?
Every purchase of Microsoft Windows gives you a free AR glasses.
Now that would be
true?
dope. No, that's not true. He's making that up. But that would be dope.
That'd be good.
They watched a Tinkering with Techtic and got the idea.
But that's what I'm talking. It would be something like that. That's when they would want to roll something out that would be different, because it would be then tailoring itself to a different medium, as opposed to now, which is they seem to have PCs and tablets kind of under control with their current UI. I don't hear people complaining about them like they have done with past renditions, so I don't know why it's required. It almost seems like busy work. But again, Twitter sphere, we want to hear from you. Do you want a sweeping rejuvenation of Microsoft's user experience? Let us know. I guess why we're wrong, because it sounds like we're saying no. But also let us know what that user experience should look like, or look more like than it currently does. That brings us to the end of the news for this week. We're going to roll out some What Are You Up To Wednesday. I'm going to start because I have a lot to get through today. First of all, I'm going to make a personal admission. A couple of big life changes here. One, got an air fryer. Really, my girlfriend got an air fryer.
Ooh, that's a big deal.
This is a big deal. We've cooked with it twice so far, yesterday and today, and both meals have been borderline life-changing. This is one of those things, kind of like Hamilton. When I watched it last year, I was like, I don't know if I get the hype. And then I watched Hamilton, or I cooked with an air fryer, and now I'm like, I totally get it. I understand it. This is a thing. You should be involved in this thing. It's a thing, and it's not going to go away. So that's one thing. Another thing, on a personal note, I have made the switch. And Techtic, I'm going to want your input on this. I think, I'm 2 days in on this. I think I've made the switch from boxers to boxer briefs. This is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's been a whirlwind of a change. I received boxer briefs as a joke gift from my girlfriend's family, which, first of all, what a strange joke gift. I don't even know what the joke was. But I was like, what the heck? Free underwear. I'll give these a shot. And
that wasn't even the joke. They washed him in COVID or something.
Well, and I hope that's not the case, but I also don't really know what washing underwear in COVID would accomplish. I'm going on 72 hours in at this point, I think. And this could be a permanent change for me. My boxers are also really old. So this is probably, it's probably a positive change in that regard as well. But
I mean, fresh underwear, independent of elasticity, is always a plus.
Are you willing to answer on air whether you are a boxer or boxer brief man, or a brief man, for what it's worth?
The answer is really yes. I have a diverse assortment of undergarments, and it's really whatever fits my mood. So like I'll wear boxer briefs when I'm going for a run, but I'll wear boxers for just hanging out. No pun intended.
That answer was everything I dreamed it could be. Maybe I'll diversify my underwear portfolio too. I'll keep everybody posted because I'm sure everyone's going to be really interested. But aside from those 2 life updates, some brief, quick hitting things. I did watch Wonder Woman 1984, which we talked about last week. I teased that I was going to watch it. I did not like it at all. If anything, you guys made it sound better than it was. So I'm gonna go so far as to offer a warning to any of our listeners who are planning on watching it. You need to go in with your expectations basically as low as they can go. It would be my advice to all of you. Also watch Tenet, which I think by the time this episode comes out, it should be available to rent. We actually bought it in my household. It was not worth the money. That was another pretty wide miss in terms of cinematic experience. Christopher Nolan, who I usually love, went a bridge too far. That's my 1-sentence summary of the movie. Kind of a mind bender, though. Maybe I just didn't get it. You know, it's one of those things. Otherwise, I'm at 118 stars on Super Mario 64, hoping to have 120 by the time we record next week. I'll be on to Super Mario Sunshine. That's the life summary at this point on my end. So we can turn it over to Techtic. What do you have today, my friend?
So I don't know if I'm a weirdo or if other people also do this.
You're a weirdo, but go on.
When I play video games, I like to have 2 types of games, well, really 3 types of games, kind of all going on in parallel. I like me a long, very story-driven, really immersive game. I like me a quick, mindless game, and I like me a multiplayer game. And so I've got the multiplayer game on lock with Nerdbomber. I've got my Jedi Fallen Order story-driven game, but I was just feeling something short, mindless, and quick. So wouldn't you know it, I booted up my old Steam account and played Sonic Adventure Battle 2, which, if you don't know, came out on the GameCube originally. And my goodness, that game is as good as it ever was.
So is this the one? I have to Google. You said Sonic Adventure 2?
It's Sonic Adventure 2, yep.
I had a Sonic game that I absolutely loved, and I'm going to see if it's the same one.
Did you have
Looks
a Chow
like
garden where you can raise Chow babies?
Yes, and this is the one that Shadow... Yeah, I believe I had the same exact game.
That game was amazing, right?
Yes. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at some screenshots. Did they have? You said they did have it on the GameCube? Yeah, I had this game.
Yeah.
This is a great game.
It's my all-time favorite Sonic game. So I saw that it was on sale, and I bought it and started playing it. Great game. Absolutely great game.
I have to admit, I never really understood the Chow Garden thing. That was kind of lost on me.
It's just raising a little baby.
I posted
my little boy on Twitter.
I loved the machine battles, where like I think Tails is the one that like has the
Tails and Eggman. Yeah,
Tails and Eggman.
Great game, guys.
I love those parts. It's really good. Yeah, 100%.
The one downer about it is you have to buy. So it's the game I bought is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, but you have to buy Sonic Adventure 2 and then buy Sonic Adventure 2 Battle in Steam. It's the way they did it, which is really dumb, but whatever.
Go check this one out. Yeah, I'm like looking at the Wikipedia, and it's like bringing back a rush of memories. And it's funny. I think Techtic, you've talked about this game before on the podcast, and it didn't.
It's my favorite Sonic. I will continue to talk about it. It is to me what Metroid Prime is to you.
It didn't click with me that this was the game you were talking about, but yeah, I played this game and I loved it as well. So double endorsement from the podcast. Go check this one out.
I am curious though. Do you also play a short game and a long game in parallel, or are you just a one game kind of person?
No, I'm a one gamer, pretty much through and through. Like I'm not even sure. I have a bunch of games in the hopper right now. I have Tony Hawk waiting in the wings. I have Squadrons, which I started, and I'm playing through Super Mario. I'm already oversubscribed. I don't even know. Like I might just go all the way through all the Marios before I even go back to Squadrons. It's unclear at this point.
Gaming's stressful, isn't it?
It really is. It doesn't have to be, but for me it is. But yeah, go check out an oldie. Do what Techtic's doing. It can't hurt.
It just hits good. Nerdbomber?
So one of the 2 things, I'm still playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's a really long game, so I feel like that will be my main update for a while. But we also got a chance to watch Enola Holmes, finally.
Oh, this was good. I like this movie.
It was actually pretty decent. I don't know what I was expecting. I put it off for a while because I think I just didn't want to be disappointed by a Netflix movie, but it was a lot of fun. I think there were parts where it struggled, where it didn't really know what it wanted to be at times. It didn't know if it wanted to be like a spunky teen detective story or a romance type thing or a family introspective type deal. But I think it was still a really fun movie, and it kind of hit the spot. I wanted something that was just like lighthearted and just a good romp, and it was very fun.
My one complaint, and I'm not going to spoil anything, is it should have been exactly 5 minutes shorter. Like, just clip out the last 5 minutes, and I would have thought it would have been fantastic.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're referring to. I think I talked about this on the podcast when I first watched it. It's definitely, it still has a bit of the mediocrity of your typical Netflix originals, but it's definitely a cut above the actual mediocrity, I would say. Like, I totally agree that it had trouble deciding what it was, and it never really settled on one thing. But I think everything it did reasonably well, if that makes sense. I'm glad you watched it. That was a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm hoping, and I don't know if they'll ever do it because I know there's going to be a sequel. But I hope there's a sequel.
I feel like there has to be. I feel like they set one up. Not to spoil anything, but we'll see.
So that was pretty much it for me. I just kind of cruised into the new year.
Well, we'll be continuing to provide updates all through the new year, and we'll be continuing to provide quizzes for me to suck at all through 2021. And we're adding a new feature to the podcast this year. Not a bug, but a feature. We're going to be tracking all 3 of our win-loss records this year in the quiz because I want to know just how bad at this I am in a more, data-driven sense. So right now, of course, all of us are starting at 0-0, but I'm going to be probably announcing this weekly, where things are sitting, who's got the most wins, who's got the most losses. But right now, clean slate. It's anyone's year. And Nerdbomber said before we started airing, whoever has the worst record at the end of the year is going to, and I quote, have to do something.
Yeah, so, if you guys have any suggestions, because I don't really, it's so early in the game that I don't really know what that something is. Nothing dangerous or disgusting, but something they have to bake the 2 winners a cake or grovel or sing a song or something like that. Something slightly embarrassing, but nothing gross, because I don't want to do anything gross if I'm the loser.
Well, for right now, I would say loser has to do something is perfectly menacing and ominous enough for me. So I have vested interest in winning. Nerdbomber will be hosting first because she won the meta quiz last week, of course. And the topic this week is it movies about snow or movies with snow in them, or just movies and snow?
Movies and snow is the topic for this week, and that's kind of generic. Most of these movies do have snow in them. I tried to keep it snow related like that. This is a really interesting one. The movies they're kind of all over the place. There's not a specific genre that I pulled from because snow movies is not a very popular genre. There's a lot of winter movies, but not snow type movies. So
can I ask a question before you start?
Absolutely.
First of all, I feel very good because I know movies and I know snow. But if you don't have a question on here about the Nickelodeon movie Snow Day, do you remember this movie?
Oh, it's on here.
Thank God. Okay, I was gonna.
What about Jack Frost? Is Jack Frost on here?
No, I tried to keep it away from Christmas movies because we're past Christmas. We're in the new year. I figure just keep it plain Jane Snow. I guess Snow Day kind of is a little Christmassy, but not really. So
it's a great movie.
So this
it's about a guy made of snow, though.
Right, but it was 100% a Christmas movie. Also very depressing. Not that any of the movies that I have on here aren't depressing, but let's dock this showboat and get into it. I stole your thing, Illeagle.
That's fine. Consider the showboat docked.
So this is going to be Price is Right style trivia. It's all going to be numerical based. If you go over, you bust, but whoever is closest without going over will get the point. And I have 5 questions and a tiebreaker, and these are very involved, my research on these, so I don't have an extra, so please don't tie past that.
Techtic, let's tie. Gentleman's agreement.
So I guess we'll start, and we'll let Techtic go first, so Illeagle has a little bit of an advantage because I think it's been a while since you've won.
Yeah, I'll take it.
And the first question is about...
I'm going to have to do something.
The first question is about The Mountain Between Us. This was a movie released in 2017 starring Kate Winslet and Idris Elba. And it centered on their survival in the snowy mountain wilderness after they crash in a plane. What was the total runtime of this movie in minutes?
You know, I saw this movie.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I didn't see it. So you've an advantage for sure.
I think we saw this at the cheap shows, like the $2 cinema.
I believe it was 2 hours and 15 minutes.
In minutes.
So I'm basing this on absolutely nothing because I didn't see the movie. Just based on what I understand the movie to be about, which is Idris and Kate are in a plane and it crashes and they're like in the snow and they're like they're trying to like figure it out. Ain't no way that lasts over 2 hours.
By the way, that's 135 miscalculator.
It should not last for over 2 hours. How could people be stranded in the mountains for 2 or more hours and it be interesting? I'm going to say a cool 90. I know it's not that short, but I'm guessing it's somewhere between my answer and Techtic's.
All right, so Illeagle, you do get the point here. It was 112 minutes long, so not quite 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 15 minutes or whatever you said.
Pretty close to 2 hours, though.
Pretty close to 2 hours, but it stayed under.
Plus, when you think about like the time the credits takes, it's less than that, but total runtime 112.
Oh, you
So
weren't
just-
counting credits.
First of all, I'm starting off 2021. I mean, I logicked that. I haven't even seen the movie. I just logicked that question.
It was
It's going to be a great year
impressive.
for me.
I was very impressed with you just now.
Well, get ready to keep being impressed. Give me question number 2. I'm going to kill this.
So this one is actually kind of up your alley, maybe. The 2013 Disney film Frozen broke a ton of records. How many original scores were composed for the film by Christoph Beck?
How many original scores? It's going to be less than a typical score because there was a lot of original music written by the other folks who did the musical-y stuff. So I'm going to say 8.
Look at me. I'm illegal. Logic. 1.
All right, so Illeagle gets this, but you guys were both really far off.
It was like 20 or something.
It was 22. According to IMDb, there were 22 scores composed for the film. And like they were probably, if you think about animated film scores, they're a bunch of like really short scores that kind of stack up across the entire movie. So 22 in total. But you get the point, Illeagle, no matter how far away you were.
You see that, Techtic? I out-logicked you again. That was unbelievable. All right, let's keep going.
This is a 2-0 start with Illeagle in the lead. And now we're going into his next favorite movie, Snow Day, a 2000 film produced by Nickelodeon about a group of kids trying to thwart their plow driver to get themselves a snow day.
If you haven't watched this movie, by the way, pause the podcast and take 90 minutes or however long it is. Go find it. I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. You have to pay for it, but it's worth it. Believe me. Anyway.
And this answer and question might sway you either way. What is the current Rotten Tomatoes score for the movie Snow Day?
Oh man, it's not that good. I love this movie. I'm not first. Sorry,
No, Techtic is first.
I just gave you some information freely.
I'm going to say it's a cool 65%.
That's a really good guess. I'm gonna lowball it now, but just because I'm playing the intervals, I'm guessing it's somewhere between 50 and 70%. So I think Techtic's guess is very good, but I'm gonna say 20% just because I'm playing the gaps.
Man, you're really trying to win this year. You got this. It's 29% is the current Rotten Tomatoes score for Snow Day.
Even if you guessed with your gut, you would have busted.
It's real bad.
It is way better. Okay, guys.
The movie was good,
serious.
though. I remember really liking it when I saw it back
Wait,
in
how old were you
2000.
guys when you watched it?
I mean,
Who cares?
I don't
It's
want to age
amazing.
us, but
Probably like 11. I don't know.
So like colors and movement would have gotten a really good score for you guys then too.
Okay, this movie is better than 29%. Okay, this movie is better than 29%. I will die on this hill. Not right now though, because I already won.
yeah,
I mean,
you're dying on the winner's hill. You can't possibly lose at this point.
Go for the clean sweep.
You don't die on the winner's hill, but yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna try and do a clean sweep. Let's do this.
All right, so Snowpiercer is now a television series, but before that, it hit the big screen as a movie starring Chris Evans. What year did that movie come out?
This is Bong Joon-ho, guys. This is the guy that came out with Parasite, which won Best Picture this year. He directed this movie. It's about a train that is always moving because the world is really cold, I guess. I don't know. I've never seen it. I just know it's a general premise. This is Chris Evans took some time off from Marvel to do this while he was still doing Marvel. Which doesn't say much because he's been doing Marvel until last year. But this is I'm gonna say 2013.
Techtic has a grimace on his face.
That feels like a bust. So I'm going to go 2005.
Oh no way! I might be a little high, but What do you got?
So do you get extra points if you sweep? Like, do you get a bonus? Because you got that one right on the money, Illeagle. 2013 is the year that movie came out.
Guys, this is my year. Okay, I don't know. I got up this morning. I thought, this is Illeagle 86's year. I'm not going to do anything else right, but I'm going to get these damn quiz questions correct. I'm going.
You
for the
studied
clean sweep.
all day. You were like, I'm going to get this. Going to read my encyclopedia of snow movies.
Let's figure out what the clean sweep bonus is once I actually get the clean sweep, because I don't want to give myself too much credit right now.
Okay, don't want to put the chicken before the eggs hatch or whatever that phrase is.
Pretty close.
Yeah, the cart before the horse, whatever.
Don't put the chicken
geese
before the
hatch.
eggs. Yeah, don't put the chicken before the eggs hatch. Let's finish this out.
All right, so Snow Buddies is a 2008 spinoff of the Air Bud franchise. How many entries have there been in the Air Bud franchise?
Oh man. Well, how many sports are there? Oh wait, I'm not first. Techtic, go ahead. I'm really eager because I'm doing so well.
22.
Okay, that's way too many. Look, Air Bud's great, but he's not that great. 6.
All right, so you did it. You managed the clean sweep here. There were 14 movies in the Air Bud
I knew
franchise.
it was a ridiculous
Still way
amount,
too
and I
many.
felt like
Yeah.
I busted, but I
Still
just
way
wanted
too
to
many.
go for it.
There was like one for every sport. Then there were several Snow Buddies movies. Then there were like Santa Paws Buddies. They had a lot of them. I think they finally stopped making new ones, but there are a lot of them.
So really,
I mean, look.
14. Holy cow.
Air Bud goes hard. The Air Bud had a lot of kids, a lot of snow buddies, a lot of Santa Paws buddies. You know, good for Air Bud. And we'll have to talk about this offline or on Twitter. What's the reward for a clean sweep? Let's institute that rule. I don't know what it is
Nothing.
right now.
It's nothing.
Tactic says nothing. Everyone else log your votes over on Twitter.
I think it deserves like a half point in the win tally. Like I feel like you should get like a special
No.
bonus. So if there's a tiebreaker at the end, then you'll be able to like boost yourself. Do you know what I mean?
I'll mark myself down as 1-0 with one perfect game, and that might be turned into a useful statistic. I was more thinking like someone has to like we all have like little kazoos, and when I get a perfect score, someone goes do-do-do-do on the kazoo or something. Like something
I don't
stupid.
have a kazoo, but I have a whoopee cushion.
Not quite what I had in mind. We'll figure out the audio visual.
The whoopee cushion is for when you get clean swept.
right.
Or maybe someone go record the sound of a broom brushing and sweeping the floor.
That would be a really an interesting audio clip to put on the podcast. We'll put something together. Maybe do it in post, etc. Maybe just do it next time someone gets a clean sweep. But 2021's off to a great start for yours truly in the quiz department, and the podcast is off to a great start in 2021 with quite an episode to kick things off for this year. So we thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you here. It's been a pleasure to be here. Hopefully you will come back and join us next week. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your pets. I don't think they can listen to podcasts, but they might tell somebody else or tell another pet who will tell their owner, et cetera, et cetera. Word of mouth. It's a very important thing.
They want to know all about the Air Bud franchise.
They might want to know about how many Air Bud movies there are and also how to watch them. So tell everyone you know. If you liked what you listened to, go head over to Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review there. We'd love to hear from you. The Twitter sphere, of course, is still Twitter sphering. Hit us up there as well. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you all next week. Have a great week.
Have a good one.